And this next one you may actually have noticed, or perhaps it hasn't registered yet, but it might if you think about it. In your backyard, taking a walk in your park, are you hearing fewer birds? Here is a startling fact that billions of birds have been lost in North America just over the past few decades. John is here in studio with a look at some new research, which is really going to frighten people, I think, to hear just how many of these beautiful birds we are losing.
Researchers are using words like stunned and shocking, although, as you say, many have commented on this. People love birds. They are more obvious than other sort of biomarkers out there in the environment to be able to determine the health of our planet. And this is what they're finding. Let's look at some of these numbers. That over the last 50 years, a $3 billion loss in birds in North America. So that's a 29% decline in population. When you look at the type of birds, these are common, beloved birds that have been around for years. We're talking about everything from sparrows, starlings, warblers, the beautiful red-winged blackbird as well. Why? A number of factors playing into this, they believe, at this point. You have the loss of habitat and biodiversity, climate change-linked issues as well. Pesticides, flying into windows is more common than you would think, certainly in cities. People with picture windows who've heard that awful thump that you get, and those numbers are adding up across the continent as well. Cats. Anyone who loves the little furry creatures knows they do kill their fair share of birds, and this, they feel, overall is the reason that we've had this tremendous loss in birds over the years. This is something that they're concerned about, of course, because birds are awfully useful. When you talk about pest control, you're talking about pollination, as well as the spreading of seeds. So, one of the study's authors says this about those findings and the loss that they're talking about, saying this loss of abundance is so pervasive that it's the old canary in a coal mine. It's almost certainly an indicator of a degradation of overall environmental quality that's ultimately going to affect people. Heather, there is the bad news.
Well, it is. I mean, and they looked at some 500 species, as you were saying, many of which have been abundant to this point. So it is very startling. Where do we find any good news in this, if any, John?
Well, the only good news is that some other species of birds, and we're talking about, for example, birds of prey and waterfowl, have had their numbers go up. And that's because they have been the focus of so much attention over the years. So by working to prevent, for example, degradation of environment, by focusing on, they have found that they've gone up. So the word out now, these other species, maybe it's time to focus on them and try to bring their numbers back up as well, because ultimately, we all depend on this. Other types of animals, insects, amphibious creatures, this sort of thing, they are the signs of a healthy environment, and they have been declining as well. So overall, let's focus on this. That's what researchers are saying. There may be some hope, but right now, it's a big problem.
A bit of an awakening here this morning. John, thank you very much.
Okay.